Welcome back. It's still Breakfast Daily, and right now we are jumping into our self-development segment. The other time we talked about etiquette and how important it is for every person, to practice some etiquette, and we also had to delve in to know what etiquette is all about. But today we are jumping into the business etiquette where professionalism meets into personal skills, and no other person to talk about this with us than Josephine Hutton Mills, the excellence coach and the CEO of Living with Finesse. Hi, Josephine.
Hi, Chris.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm
Welcome
happy to be back.
Yes. and Kwaku actually missed.
When I heard you were coming the first time, and I was like, so my people know how. You have to wait till I am not around before you bring Josephine here.
Yeah.
It's not right.
It's not fair.
Not knowing that destiny had it,
No.
that you would soon be back.
I'm here.
And so you're here again.
And she's
Thank
back
you.
here with us.
Fantastic.
All right, so Josephine, we're going to talk about business etiquette. What do we need to know about business etiquette, and how does proper business etiquette actually contribute to creating a positive and respectful work environment?
So the last time we spoke about how etiquette is a tool for excellence.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about excellence, it's not in one aspect of our lives. It's 360.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in your personal life and it's in your business life.
Right.
And so we're talking about the business aspect today. When we talk about etiquette in business, it's about how we are behaving in all aspects of business. So it's not just about your customer experience. Sometimes we just leave it to the customer experience aspect relating to the customer. Very, very important. But there's also how you relate with your peers, how you relate with your superiors, how you even respect your work environment. All that comes together, and then we push it through what we call professionalism. But what is professionalism? Professionalism is behaving in a certain way so that you ensure that we have growth, you have success, the business does well.
Right.
Basically, that's what business etiquette is about. How do we behave ourselves so that we have business growth and success?
All right. So what are some of the common mistakes we see when it comes to business etiquettes in any sort of business?
Okay, so maybe I'll talk about it as mistakes. I want us to look at, remember I said that I'm trying to encourage us to have a shift in the way we look at etiquette, that it's a lifestyle, it's every day what we are doing, not just some set of rules that have been handed down to us from the British or the Europeans. We also have things here, rules here, or ways of behaving that should affect us. So let me give an example, and it's one of the very easy examples I give. Recognition. How do I recognize who you are in the workspace? If I don't respect your position, if I don't respect who you are in the business space, it affects how I relate to you. So let me talk about it again. I know you are the CEO or you're my direct boss. Even saying good morning to you, it has to be done properly. I know that in the modern space now, we call people by their first names. By even calling somebody by their first name, the proper thing is you have to wait for the person to bring you into that space.
Yeah.
Right.
The first time I meet you, I don't call you by your first name.
True.
If I'm not on a certain level with you. And you'll be amazed the extent to which that could cause offense in a workspace.
Right.
You meet your superior and you go straight out. Mind you, we're also in a cultural context. Remember the last time we spoke, I said that etiquette is always within a context. Here as Ghanaians, as Africans, we have the way we respect people who are superior to us, who have authority. It comes back into the workspace. If you don't acknowledge that cultural aspect, if you don't acknowledge the person you're relating to, it affects the business relationship you have with the person. It cascades into even your output, and then what happens? The business suffers. When we even talk about customer experience, the one thing that we forget is that if business relationships within a business is not right, it shows on the outside. If it stinks inside, oh, it stinks outside. So how are we relating with each other? It's not just your superior, it's your peers, it's your subordinate. How do we relate with each other? I'll talk about recognition again. I was having a conversation when I was having my makeup done, and I said, we tend to blame our front desk or frontline people. So your receptionists, the people who pick the phone, how do we recognize them? If they feel like they are a part of the business and they contribute to the business, they will behave as such. So it's not just expecting them to be pleasant, to answer the phone nicely, to be polite, but do they really acknowledge that, hey, I'm the front face of the business? When you see me, you see the business before you come and see the CEO or whoever you came to see.
Right.
So the experience I give to you affects how you see the business in its entirety. It's a journey. If we're talking about marketing, your route to market, we say that we look at a product from either the billboard or the TV advert, then you come into the shop, or it's the same thing with the business experience or the experience you have at a place. I meet the security man. How does he behave towards me? Is he going to shout at me? Or is he going to wait for me to finish parking and then say, Madam, sorry, now walk to you, and then say, park. Right from that point, till I come to the receptionist, I say good morning, and she just bats her eyelids and she's looking at me, good morning. So before I even get to whoever I came to see, I've had an experience. What will I do? I'll go away
With
saying that these people behave this way. It's because we've not acknowledged all those, we've not recognized all those roles, we've not recognized the people in there. And as human beings, if you don't recognize a human being for who they are, you get the wrong reaction from them.
Right.
So that's the first level for business etiquette. Recognition, and then you acknowledge.
Right.
Simple thank yous, you've done well. Those things like that. Remember, see how it goes back to please and thank you. It just goes back to please and thank you, but in another way. It's, in another context.
Right.
So now we acknowledge people for who they are, what they do. We usually will come back first to say, oh, we are penalizing you for this, we're penalizing you for that. But how do we acknowledge you for this and acknowledge you for that? So at least that's where business etiquette starts from, recognizing and respecting and acknowledging.
If you were to look at maybe number one or two major killers of businesses in terms of bad etiquette that eventually causes a company to either break down or implode, what would some of those things be?
I think if we also realize that the biggest resource of any business is the human resource. So it comes back to relationship. The two big groups of human resource is your internal human resource, is your staff, and then your external resource is your customer. So it comes back again. How are you relating to them? How do they feel when they think about the business? So your staff, how do they feel? It's not just about how much they are paid. People leave jobs not just because of the salary. No,
low.
People can leave a job because they don't feel respected. They don't feel like they're adding value to a place. Why do you think somebody rises to a point and then exits? They feel like, I'm done here. It's all about how I feel. In the same way, if I don't feel that I'm acknowledged, if I don't feel welcome in my space, it can just be a boss and a leader-subordinate relationship, and that alone could get somebody out. So that's one big mistake. We don't give that acknowledgement. The second one is our customer experience. So it's relationships.
Right.
How do you make me feel?
Right.
I'll go away with that.
Okay. Now, talking about how we make each other feel, especially in the workplace, would you say it's important that this starts from the top to down, or from the subordinate to the top?
I think it starts from the top down and cascades down, because it's a function of the culture that has been built. If as part of a company's strategic plan, as part of a company's vision, mission, all those beautiful things that we write and put at our reception and all that, if we are able to actually enforce certain cultures, there's a culture of kindness, of basic respect. You know, those simple things, if they become part of the culture right from the top, it cascades down. So as a CEO, how many times do you just say, stop when you get down from your car, you see a security man, a simple, good morning, how are you? Oh, the other day I heard your wife wasn't well. You don't know what to do to that person, that the whole CEO has remembered that my wife wasn't well. How is she today? You've made the person's day. The way you direct parking that day will be different. Yes, because you've touched a certain aspect of the person, you know. And so if that culture is there, if you as the leader, you can touch people in that way, that will cascade down. It's very as simple as that.
Right, right. So what about, you know, handling conflict and, you know, disagreements in workplaces? They come up every time.
Yes.
So what would be the best way to handle it for everyone to still feel respected and, you know, appreciated in the company?
Again, it goes back to fairness. It goes back to fairness. When you are handling conflict, you are listening to both sides. You are respecting both parties, whether it's individuals or it's groups or it's departments. You're hearing both sides out, and the objective is peace. Because if that cohesion is not there, remember what I said, if it stinks inside, it will be stinking even worse outside. So it's all about how we are listening to each other, how we are respecting each other's views, how we are acknowledging in a conflict that, yes, each person does have, I don't want to say, they have a say, or they have a point, but it's just how it has come out. So you as the person handling it must be able to acknowledge that and treat people with fairness.
Yeah.
And now, if you find that like here, you know, we have a culture of living and working as a family.
Yes.
You know, and it's something that is easy to notice when you come in. But a culture like that can also breed things like gossip. How do you deal with that?
I think gossip is more a function of individuals not valuing who they are. Yes, because if I value who I am and I value my time, and I know my time is very important, I will not spend time discussing another person.
Okay.
Honestly, if I'm discussing another person, it's either because I'm talking to you about Chris because we are planning how to fix a situation, encourage her, or do something positive. But if the conversation is going to end with the two of us, please let's stop it right now.
Okay.
You know, because what's the purpose? To what end? Okay. So, yes, familiarity sometimes breeds contempt.
Yeah.
So when you have the culture of coming together as a family in a business, sometimes people cross boundaries. Having boundaries is also a function of etiquette. Having boundaries doesn't mean I'm shutting you out. Having boundaries means I respect your space and you respect my space. We all have our inner circle, we have our outer circle. Based on my relationship with you, those are boundaries, and so respect that. You know, and sometimes we cause problems. You get so close to somebody, you even forget that after 9 p.m. that you shouldn't call the person. That's familiarity, but you're forgotten. If the person has a spouse, what is the implication of that?
Yeah.
You know, but because you're so familiar with the person, you've forgotten that there are boundaries. You know, so it's good to be a family, but we also have to respect boundaries.
Right.
Okay. And final thoughts, question I have is being personal and yet professional. It's not always easy.
When you say being personable,
being personable and yet still professional.
yeah,
It's not always easy. Like you said, we talk about the issue of familiarity. It gets to a point that people forget that this is still work.
This is work.
We are still at work. This is still my colleague, not just my friend, but also my colleague at work.
yeah.
You know.
So as part of developing a culture in a place, that's why we do trainings. That's why you have conversations. And sometimes, you know, you can sit in a training, you know, I've heard this before. You are not sitting in that training because you've never heard it, but we have reminders. It's like going to church.
Yeah.
Trust me, we've gone to church enough to be
hear
able
all
to
the-
good Christians. But why do we go? We go because they are reminders. We go because you're networking with like-minded people who will remind you of the values for which you go to church, and will keep you on track. In the same way, you're building that culture here. You need to remind yourselves. It's part of the culture that you have those reminder sessions, let me put it that way, where we say to each other, okay, yes, we're colleagues, but we have to stay professional. You know, and how do we stay professional when we have meetings? How do we behave in meetings? There's boardroom etiquette, there's meeting room etiquette, there's conference etiquette, there's peer-to-peer relationship etiquette, there's superior to, you know, there are all those things that we need to constantly remind ourselves about.
Right. So now that we live in a digital world, let's talk about email etiquette.
Oh, yes.
You know, everything is on the go, and sometimes, you know, even sending emails, sometimes it's just like, you don't want to go through the whole 360, but is it important to, you know, put out like, or to have a certain way of, you know, sending these emails?
Yes, there's business language. That's what we call business language. And business language requires that, again, you recognize who you are communicating with, you respect the person as such, and you communicate as such, you respond as such. So even how quickly you respond to something, it could create offense. Don't we hear, I sent the person this email, the person has not even responded. Maybe I'm busy, but a quick noted, received, I'll respond as soon as possible.
Okay.
That straight away, what do?
I
calm down. Okay.
But you know, if I say right now, there are people who respond, we all say, these people never respond to an email. It's causing offense. It upsets you. You know, or somebody starts an email as if they are talking to their friend. No address. Addressing people is so important. I keep saying, it's not like a prison number. I don't walk around with a prison number on my back, you know. But when you see me, how you even say, hello, Chris? You know, there's a difference in how I relate to you. In the same way, when I type an email to you and I start, have you done this? No hello, no good morning.
It dives you straight into,
you know, subconsciously, it puts you in a certain mood. Straight away, it puts you in a certain mood. And you know what? Your response could come out even harsher than is required because the person has forced you to feel a certain way.
I can actually relate. I can actually relate
not
to that.
understanding why.
I can actually relate to that. I got a message like that, and it's supposed to be like work kind of thing, but the message is a bit harsh. So I was like, should I respond? I was like, no, let me be the bigger person.
That was a good thing to you.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for sending your message.
Yes. But I think that has happened because of WhatsApp short messaging.
True.
And we forget that the short messaging platforms are casual platforms. They are not business platforms. They are actually casual platforms. And so the tone in which you speak, the language in which you speak there should be different from your business language. Because you spoke about familiarity. When you start crossing those borders, you start causing conflict.
Sure.
The person starts feeling disrespected, and then it's building up. You don't even recognize it. Maybe the person may not say. Sometimes, in fact, a lot of the times, you may not know exactly why somebody has upset you. But it's things like that. Then it builds up. Then it builds up. Then resentment starts.
Wow.
And then it affects your business relationship with the person.
Then it can even affect work.
It will affect work.
Fantastic.
It will affect work.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for walking us through those pointers there. Very important. We've been speaking with Josephine Hutton Mills. She is an excellence coach, CEO of Living with Finesse. Yes, I like that a lot. We've been talking business etiquette. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you too.
All right, so let's take a look at our entertainment highlights and we will be back.